Plants and symbiosis. When talking about symbiotic relationships that include mutualism, commensalism, amensalism, parasitism, and predation, parasitism and predation are often coupled together because in both one organism benefits while the other organism is harmed. But there are a few differences between them. In parasitism, there is an organism called the parasite that lives in or on another organism called the host, while predators kill their prey to feed on them and gain nutrients. The parasite will not always kill its host, but sometimes it will cause harm. But often it keeps the host alive because it needs the host for nutrients and sometimes protection in order for the parasite to complete its life cycle, or in some cases many life cycles. Another difference is that some parasites have specific host species they rely on, while predators can prey on a variety of organisms. Parasitic plants are vascular plants that have developed a special organ to penetrate the tissues of other vascular plants. This allows the parasitic plant to absorb and feed on the host plant's nutrients. That new organ is called a hostorium or a hostoria. Along with the nutrients gained by the host plant, some parasitic plants still gather their own nutrients and use photosynthesis for energy. This leads to there being two main types of parasitic plants, one called a holoparasite and the other called a hemiparasite. A holoparasite is another word for obligate parasite, meaning that it is completely parasitic on other plants, and it needs the host plant to complete its life cycle. There are two different types of obligate or holoparasite plants, one being stem parasite and the other being root parasite. A stem parasite attaches to the host plant stem, while a root parasite attaches to the host plant's root. A hemiparasite, or a facultative parasite, under natural conditions is parasitic, and it is also photosynthetic to some degree. It can complete its life cycle independent of a host plant. Mistletoe is an example of a parasitic plant. Nearly all mistletoe species are hemiparasites. They have evergreen leaves that perform photosynthesis and can create some of their own energy. Mistletoe plants insert their specialized organ, the hostoria, into the host plant's bark to gain water and minerals. They grow on a variety of hosts of trees and shrubs, and sometimes will eventually kill their host, but most of the time they only stunt the growth of their host. Mistletoe roots, like other parasitic plants, have roots that grow in the direction of their host plant instead of growing into the soil. Mistletoe seeds also germinate directly on the branches of the host they attach to instead of germinating in the soil. Thurber's stem sucker is another parasitic plant. It is a rare holoparasitic plant, meaning that it has no true stem, roots, or leaves. It is completely dependent on its host for nutrients and water. It is a wildflower stem parasite, so it lives within the stems of a small desert shrub called a dyeweed. The dyeweed plant as a whole doesn't die because of this plant, but certain parts of the plant dies. The Thurber stemsucker is only visible when it buds in December and January. By late winter and early spring, the flowers are visible, but dry, and they will eventually fall off, leaving a black scar on the host plant's branches. So you will never know that a dyeweed plant is infected with Thurber stemsucker until December or January. Carnivorous plants, or predation plants, are vascular plants that can perform photosynthesis and receive some nutrients through their roots. So they do not need a host plant to supply energy, water, or nutrients. However, most carnivorous plants reside in bogs and marshes that lack an abundant amount of nitrogen and phosphorus. So they have developed traps that catch insects. Those insects are then digested, and the nutrients from the insects are absorbed by the plant. The traps that these plants have developed are pitfall traps, flypaper style traps, snap traps, and suction traps. Venus flytraps are an example of a predation or carnivorous plant. Venus flytraps are native to bogs of North and South Carolina. They have 2 lobes hinged at a midrib, and they have trigger hairs on each of these lobes. When 2 or 3 trigger hairs are touched consecutively in a short amount of time, the trap snaps shut, trapping the insect. Teeth-like cilia interlock with the trap shuts, making it hard for the insect to escape. With the insect inside, the leaves start to make digestive enzymes that break down the proteins from the insect and then into an available nitrogen source. Pitcher plants are another type of carnivorous plants. There is an Old World pitcher plant that mainly grow from trees, and there are a family of New World pitcher plants that grow from rhizomes in the ground. Pitcher plants also live in bogs and marshes all over the world. Most pitchers are filled with rainwater, and then the plant adds digestive enzymes. There's nectar that the pitcher plants make, and it is on the peristome in the mouth of the plant. This nectar attracts insects to the plant. Then it is used as a lubricant to help the prey slip inside the pitcher. The surface of the pitcher base is waxy and slippery and covered with downward-facing hairs. These mechanisms keep insects from escaping out of the pitcher. There is a special type of pitcher plant called Darlingtonia californica. It is a New World family pitcher plant, meaning it grows from the ground. Its trap is filled with nectar-like water drawn up from the roots, unlike other pitcher plants that fill with rainwater. Scientists have studied this pitcher plant and its relationship with bacteria. Like other pitcher plants, the nectar attracts insects, and the insects slip into the trap. However, the bacteria that is in the nectar at the base of the pitcher is an extra mechanism that prevents insects from escaping the pitcher plant. Scientists have found that the bacteria in this plant creates a low surface tension in the nectar, like water of the pitcher, and this drowns the insects quicker and more easily. Another type of unique pitcher plant is an Old World Bornean plant with a mutualistic relationship with ants. The pitcher plant ant consumes the pitcher plant nectar and the prey that slip inside the pitcher plant. The ants dive into the pitcher plant and clean the pitcher plant base. The most important job these ants do, however, is protect the pitcher plant by hunting mosquito larvae that hatch in the plant. The mosquito larvae damage the pitcher plant because they take up the plant's nutrients. However, scientists wondered, how does the plant gain nitrogen through this relationship? They found that the pitcher plant gained their needed nitrogen through the ant colony's waste. They also found that pitcher plants with ants colonizing them have a higher level of nitrogen, and they grew larger.